So I have lots of questions to go over, but I also like want to give you guys for showing up an opportunity to ask questions. Morgan Miller. So did you look at the guide to dining out? Do you have any questions on that?
It was fantastic.
Oh my God, you're so nice.
Well, I went out last night, so.
Oh, good. Yeah, and you had asked the question inside the group about like, well, it's going to be half my calories for the day. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so I think it comes back down to everything matters. It's not just like a meal in isolation, right?
Yep.
I'm just going to mute some people. And you need to trust in yourself to make the right decision, right? So you can still lose fat and eat out, but you can't have everything that you want all the time. All right. So if I was to say one thing that's going to be like the theme of this meeting and the theme of, I guess just the 30 days, what got you here will not get you there.
Amen.
Okay. So you could take it as a little bit of tough love because like in some of these questions, I'm going to say that. So what got you here, right? Got you to a certain point, won't get you there. Okay. So there are going to be some things that you're going to have to change in order to get the results that you want. Okay. So if you haven't checked out the guide, check it out. Ask any kind of questions that you have. I'm going to pull up the questions that people had asked and then run through them. Okay. I have literally so many pieces of paper. So sorry, people just keep popping in. So question about fast fitness. Is it more important to focus on time or reps? For some things such as push-ups, I'm really focusing on breathing and getting the reps takes a little longer. Just curious what you think is more important. So some of these, I don't even know who asked the question, but I would say it depends. So there's push-ups on your knees where you're getting your hamstrings turned on. That is getting that pelvic position. You can inhale on the way down, exhale on the way up. There's incline push-ups on a bench, nipples all the way down to the bench. Then there's regular push-ups. Then there's push-ups where your feet are touching the wall and your hands are on the ground. That's really fucking hard to get 15 in, right? So if you could do 15 push-ups, great, but I would rather have you slow it down to do it well, right? So like a push-up with my head going like this and doing 15, that's definitely not what I want, right? I want all the way down. I want all the way push away. Another one is using like a band in the doorway for assistance to make sure that your hips and your pelvis are level. I really want really great form. That's how you're going to get stronger. So I hope that answers that question. You could even say, okay, what was the amount that I could get with good form? And then just try to beat that every single time. My internet connection is unstable, it's saying. Great. Awesome. It's going great, guys. So if I find myself under calories by 300 to 400, but I'm close to my protein goal, is that okay? It is okay. I would love to know like what your age is, whoever asked this question, because as we get a little bit older, maybe we don't have as much muscle mass. Just bumping up the protein in and of itself is going to keep you fuller longer. So that kind of can put you in a calorie deficit, right? Bottom line here, you're never going to eat when you're not hungry. Don't force yourself to eat. Okay. That's kind of part of this process. Is there anything we should adjust in our protein calorie numbers if we are nursing? And I think she's actually on here. I thought I saw her face for a second. This is like the most commonly asked question. Hi. So I'm just going to answer it again. In a perfect world, you would have tracked your food for 7 days before you started this challenge, before you calculated your own numbers. And that's what I told Lindsay to do. I want to know where she is at and how is her milk supply when she's eating that way, right? So then when I took her to the calculated calories and calculated protein, she was around the same without her supply going down. So that's how I would answer that question, right? Everyone's so different. And some people just hold on to the last like 10 to 15 pounds when they are nursing. Other women just and that is just how it is, right? And it can be different for different babies. But what I would say to her is just, it's all cumulative again. Like if she does this for like 3 weeks and then she's fucking starving, then bump it up, Okay. You could even say to yourself that like, I'm really going to fixate on the protein and like have these go-to meals that fit in there. So like if her target was like 2,000 calories, just break it down like we did last week. You could have meals that are 600 calories with like 35 or more grams of protein. And then you are adhering to this, but you're not being so strict, because we know that life is crazy when we have like 2 kids under two or 3, right? She was like, we're all crying, including me, but we're here, right? Will the fact that I eat lots of beans and quinoa and the items listed as non-veggie carbs as the main source of my protein mean it will take me longer for my weight loss? I don't eat eggs either, so I'm limited on non-carb proteins. All right, what got you here won't get you there. So where are we going to maybe just change where we're at? So if you're adding on strength training and you weren't doing that before, that could be the boost that you need, right? So we're looking to maintain muscle. That's going to be via eating protein and strength training, right? So you might not have to change that much with your food, but I would say that, yeah, it is going to be at a little bit of a slower pace, because part of the way that I set this up is I say, I give you protein, I give you calories, and then it kind of makes the carbs and the fats invert, right? So if the carbs are so high and you're not hitting your protein, then you're able to get more carbs. Does that make sense? But ultimately, if you're staying within your calories, it'll just be like a little bit slower, and you could think about strength training and that would help you. Does that make sense? Sort of. But I would also say, take a look at combining proteins like strategically, and saying, can I tolerate Greek yogurt? Can I do cottage cheese? Do I have that great protein powder that I actually like that is plant-based? And can I do maybe 2 scoops of that? If you just change one thing, or you had like whitefish like once a week, like over time, those little changes are going to make a difference. But like if you're saying, I'm not going to eat eggs, I'm not going to eat dairy, I'm not going to eat fish, it's kind of hard, right? So let's see what feels comfortable for you to change like slowly and get strength training. And I think that could be amazing. Okay. I'm going to bang these out. Next one. How important is it to keep your heel on the wall in half kneeling positions? I'm only able to drag up the wall with my toes. My heels don't stay on the wall. Totally not important. I even brought my RX pad over here that I can go down into the position. It really depends on your ankle mobility, but when it comes to hamstrings, as long as the ball of the foot, the big toe mound is in contact with the wall, you're going to be good. Just like reach back behind you and be like, do I fucking feel my hamstrings? Like, are they actually on? That's how you're going to know. Okay. Same thing with the lunge. You don't have to force your heel all the way up against the wall. Okay. Okay. Someone else had the same question with fast fitness. Is it more important to focus on time or reps? With some of the exercises, I don't get the 15 reps. Don't worry about it. Start where you are. I'd rather have you have good form, right? And have it be challenging. But if you only get like 2 reps in 30 seconds, maybe just do it based on repetitions. How long does it take you to get to 12 to 15 reps? Do that and then move along to the next exercise. I'm literally just trying to make it as easy as possible for you to get like a total body, like strength training and a little bit of a sweat in, pleasing everyone that likes more of like the conditioning stuff. All right, next question. When choosing, and actually I'm going to ask some of these like oldie but goodie OG people to answer this question for me, because you guys will have great answers and then you don't have to listen to me talk anymore. When choosing good fats to add to your protein and veggies, I'm confused. I know avocado is a good choice, but I think my brain is overwhelmed because my boyfriend did keto last year and lost 20 pounds. He ate blue cheese dressing, butter, and all sorts of stuff that I would have considered unhealthy, and it still worked in weight loss. For lunches, I love salads and open-faced tacos. What would be a good condiment to add to these dishes? Would it be blue cheese, sour cream, oil, and vinegar? So that's one of her questions. I'm going to do my short answer, and then I'm going to let you guys chime in. What the fuck do you like to eat? You need to learn that, and you need to make that decision for yourself, right? Like if you like blue cheese, eat blue cheese, because you literally can eat whatever you want. You just have to decide what it is that you like and then eat it. I literally go by that rule of like, there are no good foods or bad foods. Do I agree with keto? No, because he probably lost 20 pounds and then he decided that he couldn't eat without pizza for the rest of his life. And now he probably gained back that weight and maybe more, right? So I think that this is Heather, I think it is. I don't know. She needs to decide what it is that she likes. What advice would you give to her, Sarah Norcott? Because I know she likes to talk for me.
All right, give me 10 seconds. No. So I've known Stacey for like a decade. I've done this nutrition challenge and I've gone through it all, had the same mindset. The one thing I'll say that I love about this compared to any other diet or all the fads, this is all about what you can eat versus what you can't eat. I just want to make that clear. This is one of the greatest things about the weight loss journey and the strength journey that I've had through Stacey, because all the other diets always tell you what you can't eat. And then it becomes a mind fuck. Excuse me. This is a swear party here. So I just want to get that out there. But honestly, I did that. I think Stacey, in 2015, I did the challenge. One day I was like, why the fuck can't I have avocado? It's telling me all this. And I became so in my head about it. And then I just started realizing like, no, I love avocado. I just add it and adjust elsewhere in the day. So I kind of started having the mindset is like Stacey said, what is it that you love? You can have it. That's it. You can. You just got to input it, be honest with yourself, and then adjust throughout the day. You might not be able to have avocado, high fat cheese, and then 2 tablespoons of peanut butter all in the same day. You just kind of adjust throughout the days, and throughout the different days and stuff. So not sure if I answered that question. I just wanted to.
That was a perfect answer, because it's like, there's a lot of different layers to it. Like, you can have the things that you like, just like in the guide to dining out, but you can't have all the things all the time. Right. And you're gonna fuck up. Like, you're gonna make a mistake. You're gonna be like, oh, I chose that. Like Katie Morgan, she made this lunch that was totally perfect. And then she was hungry for like chips and chocolate chips after. Like, this isn't a linear process that like, oh my God, I did this. I signed up. I'm listening to what Stacey said. There's going to be times where there are other things like out of your control that it's all about like a learning process. And I feel like the things that I wanted to talk to you about today, they kind of like intertwine with some of these questions that people have. So like with this blue cheese, sour cream, oil and vinegar, like I would try it out based off of what you like, but know that there are some times where people have like trigger foods or buffer foods. And you saw like in the emails this week, we touched a little bit upon that. Sometimes my trigger food might be your buffer food, right? We use me as an example. If I drank alcohol, it wouldn't be good. Right. That's kind of like my trigger food. I can't just have one. Some people like just sip on the wine and like, it's great. Right. So you have to know yourself enough. I always say like bread and cheese are my buffer foods, and I have them daily so that I don't dive headfirst into pizza. Right. So like Katie had asked about what should I do? Like, I just wanted chips and chocolate. I'd put like chips in your salad on purpose next time, but also know that where you are in your period, what you did for workouts, what stress is going on in your life is also going to have an effect on like your hormones and all those things. Okay. Justine, do you want to say anything about the, what should she do with the fats?
I mean, I would say try all of them. I was just gonna say, like, to that list of things, blue cheese, sour cream, like oil and vinegar, like, yes, like try them all. Because actually one of the things I'm like Sarah, I've been doing this with Stacey for like 10 years now. And every time I feel like I've like figured it all out, and I'm gonna go straight to like TMI territory here, but as we know, there's no TMI. Like, I haven't been pooping regularly. And I was kind of like going back through like my like mental log of like journals, right? Like, how have I learned about this over the years? And I realized that like I had stopped eating Greek yogurt in the morning as one of my like favorite breakfast foods. Lo and behold, I started eating Greek yogurt every other day, not every day. And I am pooping regularly again. So like, I think you just gotta like figure it out, right? Because even though I've been eating a lot of like egg bites for breakfast, and so like I kind of switched to that because I liked eating them more. But then I realized that it was having this unintended consequence, like somewhere in my system where I wasn't regular anymore. So then I was like, okay, well, I can have both. Like I'm going to alternate. Like one morning I'm going to have egg bites, the next morning I'm going to have yogurt, and I can eat what I like and poop, which is great.
Because everybody likes to poop.
It's strange how much that happens as you get older. Yes.
Yeah, we're just like people probably in this group because I like talk about that a lot. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, so
Well,
my advice is like to pay attention to everything else that's happening. Yeah, like eat what you want, make sure it fits your macros, but then like, yeah, do you feel like shit? Do you not shit? Like so yeah.
And to piggyback off Justine, the one thing though too is like, because I love that Justine and I can kind of do this, because I have found everyone's whatever, it's going to be different for almost everybody. And it's awesome that we share what works for us and what doesn't. But because, for instance, if I do a high carb diet, I go to the bathroom more. I can't do a high fat diet. I actually realized this through the journey with you, Stacey. I was on like a little higher fat, lower carb, but then the past year I've shifted. My hormones have been better from higher carb, lower fat, and I'm going regularly. And I've always had a gluten, dairy allergy and everything. So it's, it really is the patience of figuring it out. And it gets frustrating. I mean, Justine, I'm not sure you can agree to this, but like all this time, like, oh crap, wait, hold on, go back to the basics. What has worked, what doesn't work. But it'll kind of, it takes a while to get there, but don't beat yourself up if you have to try it. And then you kind of adjust as you go.
Totally.
yeah, it's really annoying because it's like, this is like, it's really super annoying. And I'm just being honest with you, but this is like, you have the rest of your life, right, to figure it out. And guess what? We're women. So we get our periods, our hormones are always changing. Then we're going to go through menopause. It's like, you're going to have to figure it out at some point if you want to eat in a way that helps you to feel better. Okay. I'm just going to go to the next question real quick. I find myself in the car running around a lot. Yep. Having pre-planned food is challenging. Is it horrible to have a bar for breakfast every morning if you hold off eating till 11 and then lunch is at 1? I work as a hygienist and I find that eating is a challenge when I'm at work due to face masks and time constraints. So preparing eggs or a meal I have to have when I finally am hungry in the morning is not something I can take a break for. So instead I just shove a bar down my throat in between patients. Also recommendations for good choices when you're in the car a lot on the weekends. So there's a couple of questions in here. I think that the chomp sticks are really good. And that's like another one that you can get at like Trader Joe's or you can get at Amazon. It's a quick thing. The thing with the bar is, and on the portal, it's like the protein bar rule. Some are better than others, but again, it's all going to be based off of personal preference. So there are ones that people that like to lean towards more whole foods, right? Then there's some people who, they're fine with eating a bar that's like 400 calories, right? And then other people would like never do that. You got to figure yourself out, right? I just know that when you do the bars on a regular basis, you might be, sensitive to like the sugar alcohols. If it does have that in it, it might make you hungrier. Right. So maybe on the days that she's not working, she can see what the difference would be if she was eating like more whole foods. But I understand that in a pinch, yeah, you do have to shove food down your throat. So I always think that a protein bar is fine, but also like, how's your digestion? How's your pooping? Like all those things, trying to find bars that work well for you. Recommendation for good choices when you're in the car a lot on the weekends. I think that having like fruit with like the fiber and like the water, having, oranges, strawberries, apples, in addition to like the chomp sticks, the bars, and even putting like protein powder so that you could like just mix it on your own. Sometimes I'll add those like Premier protein to like my coffee, like anything that's going to give me that little bit of boost. I also printed out the sheet of like snacks that I wanted to go over. This is on the portal as well. Greek yogurt, cup of strawberries, string cheese with an apple, jerky and an orange, apple slices with 2 slices of the cheddar cheese, half of a protein shake, hard-boiled eggs and peppers, Applegate Farms turkey with Dijon mustard wrapped in Bibb lettuce leaves, cottage cheese and fruit, Pro-Yo, which is plain Greek yogurt, a tablespoon of PB2, a teaspoon of trail mix and chocolate chips. And then like guacamole, salsa, and baby carrots. I feel like those are all kind of like portable options. Yep, egg bites also. Yep, Sarah says protein smoothie the night before. I agree with all those recommendations. So this is her last question. I'm currently doing Orange Theory 2 to 3 days a week, but I find it challenging because you never really know what weight portion will be. So doing weights at home and then hitting up Orange Theory the next day messes with me. Legs 2 days in a row is murder. So yeah, I mean, progress, not perfection, baby. I'm glad you're doing Orange Theory and I'm glad that you are lifting some weights. Like when you are ready to do some, strength training workouts, maybe you just give yourself 2 days in between when you go to Orange Theory and you just try it out on your own. It really depends on like how motivated are you to get to this goal? Like, are you ready to actually strength train, or are you fine working on your nutrition and then getting there a little bit slowly? The thing with Orange Theory is this. I don't think she has children either. Like you might be fine, but eventually the hormonal component of exercising like that hard for that long period of time, it does tend to like stress you out a little bit too much. So I don't see it as like an activity that's good for like the long haul in terms of sustainable fat loss. But I think it's great for introducing like women to strength training. It's fucking awesome. Okay. Katie, do you feel like we talked about what yours was? She said, I've been paying attention to how certain foods make me feel this week. I had one lunch where I was immediately craving chips and chocolate. I had a really good breakfast that day and my lunch was not crazy restrictive, so I was confused by my cravings. Any idea how to troubleshoot this? I would ask where she was in her period. How stressed out is she in her day-to-day life? What did she do the day before? Was it like a hard strength training session? Where is she in her period? Did she sleep? It's not always just going to be about food, but if you like look at that progress thing that we broke down last week, like I think you could find the answer in there. And sometimes you're not going to find the answer and it's okay. But like maybe next time just put chips in your salad because that's the best thing to do in life. And maybe you'll be happy.
Actually, what I did was I added fat to my salad. I added cheese to my salad. And so the salad I posted this week where I did like the rando beef, like and spinach and like veggies and stuff, it was basically the same salad. It just had fat in it instead of carbs.
Like so she's saying like this Katie is the opposite of Sarah. And that's totally fine because you need to own that and know that about yourself.
Yes. And I know we're shitting on keto and keto is not a sustainable thing, but I also have lost a lot of weight doing that. But I think what I found out through that experience, which was many years ago, is that my body really likes fat. It really just does. My taste buds really love carbs. I love potatoes. My child is made of potatoes. That is all I ate when I was pregnant. But like that.
I like sweet potatoes.
And she likes sweet potatoes. But I really like fat. And if I just add a little bit more fat to what I'm eating almost all the time, it means better satiety for me and less bloating. But I just had to trial and error that. And so that was my takeaway from trying the keto thing too.
Yeah, you're going to learn something from every single experience. In my personal opinion, I don't think it's like sustainable. And that's why
it's not.
Right. But no,
I miss potatoes.
Learn something from every single thing. Like I could never be a vegetarian because I just I don't ever feel satisfied, but that's to each his own. Do you know what I mean? So hence this creation of mine. And it works for some people. So, okay. Marilyn's question. What if I'm estimating amounts versus strictly using the scale? How much will this throw off my progress? What got you here won't get you there. This is the theme today, right? So what kind of results do you want? I definitely think that like being a effing nutbag for 30 days and like learning more about like the scale and just like, that's all it is. It's not even about like being crazy. It's about awareness. Like you're just going to learn. And the more that you put like whatever 4 ounces of meat on the scale, the more you're going to look at 4 ounces and be like, oh, I know that. But if you never do it, then you're never going to know. Okay. So I would say based off of the results that you want to have, yes, I would use the scale. That would be my recommendation. The other thing was I was talking to someone else and they were basing it off of I think that they were just thinking that because it was like 100 grams of chicken, it had like 100 grams of protein. It doesn't work like that. So I want you to think in terms of, I like to weigh my meats off of ounces, right? And then I can say, oh, 4 ounces of chicken has 20 grams of protein in it, right? It doesn't carry over strictly. So like with protein, I would say, measure the protein in ounces, get familiar with that. And then if you want to switch over to ounces, do that. But I just don't want you to be confused. Okay. Do we want to weigh in on, no one asked the question, but should we do the cooked versus raw meat debacle that we have every single time? Because I'm down for that too. Might as well get it all done.
I actually
Justine is
have a
here today.
really,
Yep.
I really have an interesting story about this
Uh-oh.
from kind of recently, actually. So again, I've been doing this for a long time. I've gone through phases where I weigh literally everything. I've gone through phases where I estimate, and every once in a while, I experiment with that again, just to like recalibrate my brain and say like, hey, am I still good at estimating, right? Like, I think this is a number of ounces. Let me put it on the scale to see if like I'm still good at it. So the joke is that I'm Betty Crocker. I really like to cook from recipes, or I guess I should say my husband does. He does most of the cooking these days, but we cook like from scratch every night. It's a recipe. Sorry, Stacy, I don't do plug and play. I don't like make a big pile of meat and like put things together. Like, I cook a recipe. And so by the time the recipe is cooked, everything is combined already. And I can't separate out 4 ounces of, cooked chicken because like, well, I had to put it in the recipe early on. I can't deconstruct the recipe once it's made. So I do everything from raw. However, like, there's been a few things that we've made kind of recently where the meat did end up being separate. Like, so I actually weighed it before and after because I was curious, like, how much it would lose when I was trying to calculate my macros. And it seems like on average, things will lose between like 10 and 30% of their weight before and after you cook them. So if you're ever curious, but basically the TLDR is like, just do it consistently, right? Like, don't weigh some
Pick a
things raw
method
and some
and
things.
do it.
Yeah, like either cook everything raw or cook everything or weigh everything cooked. So I always do everything raw, but I did run a series of experiments. And so now like I've added that to my like mental library of things that I can now guesstimate and feel reasonably confident about if I do have to switch back and forth. So, but that's like, I don't know, hard mode or advanced mode or whatever.
I literally was going to jump in because I know exactly what you're talking about. That's like, if you're a math person, like, you can get pretty technical. Like, same thing, I've weighed it before, then I've done after just to see the comparison.
Right. I've been doing it for a long time.
And it's like, I do the math to figure it out, but that was just to be curious, but it can go down this rabbit hole, right? Of like being so precise and everything like that. But like Stacey said, pick one method, either cook everything then weigh or weigh it before. And that's kind of would be the most consistent way. But I'm also mini Betty Crocker. Is there Betty Crocker? Is that what we just said? Is that who we are? So,
Yep.
and plug and so.
It all works. And so I like to have other people in here because not everybody's going to agree with like what I say. And my way is like not the right way. And there are other people that can like explain and help you guys, figure out a way that's going to work for you. I'm planning ahead dinners and I have plug and play items for breakfast, lunch, but I have a hard time truly doing a meal plan and sticking to it for BLD all week, every day. I don't know what breakfast, lunch, and dinner, never mind. Okay. I also have a hard time doing more than 1 or 2 days of food prep ahead, just overwhelming to do more. Am I overcomplicating it? Should I just power through prepping the entire week? And after a few weeks of grinding through, this is a better way. I wouldn't say that I ever prep for like the entire week, but the way that I do it is like just knowing like the foods that I have in the refrigerator, how I can make meals based off of it. And this was something that Alex did. She's new and she still did the activity of like, what protein, what carbs, and what fats do I have like in, and how would I like to eat those together? And I know that Marilyn has kids too. I understand like planning is hard. I know there are other moms in here like Jenny. I don't know if she's going to want to talk, but like there are other ways of doing it other than what I do. So I think that like I'll prep on like a Sunday and then I know that I run out of food on like a Thursday. So unless I want to be ordering takeout and eating like crap on the weekend, I do have to prep some again. But again, I just like choose some proteins, choose some veggies to have. And then like I plug and play it together with like different condiments or like different salads and taco bowls and like all those different ways. But like, I know like Jamie, Jenny, they have like a better plan for the way that they lay it out for their family. But I would say you might prep 3 days a week instead of like one. I don't think you should force yourself to do anything that like really doesn't feel sustainable. But I think it just comes back to what got you here won't get you there. So you got to make that decision on, can you prep, you know, instead of 1 day, can you prep 2 to 3 days? Does that seem more reasonable, and see how that goes? And just going back with, I would really try to use the scale for like the 30 to 60 days so that you can really gain that awareness. Okay, so that I think was like all, oh no, I had one more question. It was like put in this morning. It was something about, let me see. It was in relation to hormones, the question. Hang on. It was, oh Jesus, we had a couple more added. Okay. Curious, do we ever cover hormone balancing? I love the app you suggested and would enjoy working to support hormones during each phase of my cycle. So this is a 30-day challenge. The way that I go into things is based off of, I'm a strength coach and women come to me because they want fat loss. And I know that 80 to 85% of their results are going to be from food. But my pillars, right? Progress, PROGESS, all of that is hormonal. Okay. So protein, that's balancing your hormones. Exercising, AKA strength training and walking, that's all with cortisol. Like, I just don't go into depth because I'm not an actual nutritionist. I'm a strength coach, but like all the things that we do, you know, the 80-20, it's like not eliminating sugar and like refined carbohydrates, but like limiting your intake, managing stress, like chill the fuck out and breathe, being very mindful and knowing like when we need to get outside and take a walk, 10 minutes is better than no minutes, because stress is not going to help your hormones. And then talking about the healthy fats, like you do not want to be under 40 grams of fat. That's going to mess up your hormones. Fiber is another one. We don't like go necessarily like really deep diving into that because I stick to the protein and the calories, but fiber is another one that with the veggies, we want to think in terms of being able to support your digestion, avoiding overeating and undereating, right? So like I'm going to try to get you to lose fat, but keep your calories as high as I can while you go through this process. We talk a little bit about supplementation. I'm not a huge supplement pusher again, but one of the supplements that I do recommend is like fish oil. Okay. Just having those fatty fishes if you're not eating salmon, right? I don't eat salmon as much as I should. I feel like all of these things are just like background little details that do support hormone health, right? But I'm not like touting it as that. Does that make sense? Another one is sleep, right? If you're not sleeping, then you're going to not have your hunger, your energy, and your cravings in check, right? You're going to be a lot more hungry if you don't get like at least 7 hours of sleep. Some people need like 9. Okay. I just wanted to go through, if you guys didn't ever like pay attention to like your fiber, certain fruits, veggies have a little bit more fiber than others. Beans, chia seeds, you'll see me add these things to like my smoothies. I talk a lot about this just because of like the whole pooping situation, right? I'm easily constipated, so I try to like throw it in with all these other things. Yep, flax, apples, raspberries, bananas, carrots, beets, broccoli. If I don't put flax in my smoothies, I will not poop. Walnuts, sunflower seeds, sweet potatoes, dark chocolate, the chia seeds, the flax seeds, artichokes, Brussels sprouts, lentils, chickpeas, kidney beans, quinoa, oats, popcorn. These are all options for fiber. Talked about sleep. What else? This is going to kind of go into the whole like trigger foods versus buffer foods, right? And this is where I took some notes to talk you guys through it. I want you to think in terms of, A trigger food is a food that you eat and then you feel like you can't stop eating it, right? My trigger food might actually be Gail's buffer food, right? So this is something that you have to examine on your own. A buffer food actually makes dieting easier, like staying within a calorie range easier, right? So by strategically including chips or like shredded cheese in my salads, I don't dive headfirst into a pizza, right? So my buffer food might be your trigger food and vice versa. So just like the same thing we've been talking about, it's also individual, and like what you decide on your own isn't wrong. Also, you can evolve enough that like your trigger foods become a buffer food, or you don't even give a shit about those foods anymore because you've done the work, right? So when I was really like hormonally off balance, when I was getting off of competing, I could eat jars of peanut butter because my body was so like deprived of fat, right? Now I have nut butters and everything in my cabinet and I don't even give a shit about them. Like, okay, but did that happen in a week? No. Did it happen in a year? No. Did I mess up a ton? Yes. I just kept going, right? And then I kind of figured it out. Okay. So I wanted you guys to think about and potentially share with me, what are your trigger foods, right? And how can we explore and help you kind of navigate that? Or have you navigated it in the past, right? Everybody's typing in the chat. Nobody's talking.
I don't have a buffer food figured out, but I do have a trigger food.
Okay.
Like
what is it?
chips. Like what you said is adding chips to your salad helps you not eat a pizza. I don't care if I ever eat a pizza in my life. If you put a bag of chips in front of me, that is one serving.
Are you
So-
walking on a treadmill right now?
No, I'm just marching in front of my desk.
Ask it was the people.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm like,
I gotta get my steps.
I know. I'm just laughing. Oh, my fellow crazies.
I know.
So that combination of fat, carb, and salt, right? Or like fat, carbs, sugar, like all that stuff, that's not you, right? That's like, it's created to be like that, where you like can't stop eating it, right? I don't know that I have like the perfect answer for you, but like finding things that, like it gives you that crunchy, like satisfying, like salty. I know like Justine would say, she's not here anymore, but like, she'd be like, yeah, sometimes I put like salt on my cucumbers. Katie would be like, that's a fucking joke. That's not going to solve my problem. Right.
Yeah,
but
no.
like other people, like maybe that is like for them. So, coming up with, I don't know, ideas or like, you
The
know,
way that I found out to eat those chips though, is I only buy my favorite ones. And I sit there and I like portion out the amount that I'm willing to spend calorie wise on those. And I enjoy the hell out of them when I eat them. Then it's not like I'm trying to shove them in my face later, like when I'm drinking wine. And I don't overeat if I like put it into my plan and eat it as a snack and only get the ones that I really love. So
yes,
that's how I manage it.
but there's probably going to be times where maybe, I don't know, you do eat more than that, and that's okay, right? So like, I don't want you to think that like, oh, we came in here and we're perfect. Like, no. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want you to ever think that.
So I echo
Yeah.
Katie what you just said, and it literally something I thought of this past year, because I have my trigger foods, I'll just go all out. I developed this word standard. Like you said, you're gonna go get your favorite chips, your best chips, and you're gonna have that. I notice I will like sometimes graze on things I just don't even want and put in my mouth, but I'm like, create a standard. If you're going to have, I'm a chip girl too. If I'm gonna have my potato chips, I'm gonna go get the best potato chips and snack on that versus having this and that and this and all this other stuff. So it's kind of creating the standard of like, if I'm going to have the ones that I want, why don't I just have actually the ones that I want versus, I don't know, just kind of thought about that this year. A lot of things this year.
No, that's perfect, because like, just like that comes kind of back down to like what I was saying with Cindy, was like, with going out to eat, just enjoy the meal, like have the thing that's supposedly like bad or like high calorie, but just fucking enjoy it. And then you won't be thinking about it. And that's like the, it's like, it's psychological, right? It comes back to like what Sarah was saying. Most diets tell you, you can't have X, Y, Z. And then what do? I want X, Y, and Z. And then you stop, right? It's like, saying you can have these foods and intentionally having them as part of your day or your week, right? And like people have asked me in the past, like, oh, what's the calculation of like 80-20? I don't have that, right? I'm just saying in terms of like a week, in terms of a day, in terms of like a month, like 80-20, right? Like you're trying to prioritize protein and veggies the majority of the time. Yep, pickles, that's good, Sarah. And then you're like not getting so crazy about that 20%, and you're choosing like wisely and strategically which choices you make, right? And it's not always going to be the same ones. Like if I wrote down like my 20% foods, like, I don't know, you'd be like, Stacey, that's like a lot of foods, but it's like all based on like my mood. I don't know, at any given time. Like, why do I like Cheetos? I don't know, but I do. Let's see. In the what the fuck are macros and like why am I counting them video, there's like one important component, and I think it comes back to two things that like Katie and Sarah talked about today. We're different. Katie tends more towards fats and Sarah tends more towards carbs, right? So when you break down your targets, again, I'm never going to tell you that you have to track your fats and your carbs in order to be successful, but you can look at them just like you can look at your fiber. Okay. But get the protein, get the calories down first before you stress about anything, because you can get amazing results by just tracking that. But I say to you, you do not want to have under 40 grams of fat any given day, because you're a woman with a period and the hormones matter. Like we need the healthy fats. Okay. And then when it comes to carbs, you're anywhere between like 100 and like 225, right? On that scale, I would say on the higher end, you better be strength training if that's what you're doing, right? But you can work your way up to that high of carbohydrates at any given time when you're strength training, you know. And then I also had another thing I wanted to talk about. There are certain things that you have total control over, okay? Two things. It is your mindset. So obviously you guys are all here because you have a great mindset, like you're not giving up, and also your effort, right? So mindset, effort, you have total control over. You have some control over your schedule. So you can look at it, you can put your workouts in advance, you can prepare your protein, go grocery shopping, your home and your work environment, you have some control over. Your support system. All of these women in here are here to support you. Okay. Whether your like partner isn't supportive, like that obviously makes things harder. But like if you surround yourself with people who have a similar goal to you, it's going to be easier. Things you have no control over: your body shape, other assholes, and the weather. Okay. So I want you to focus in on the things that you can control, and to just kind of like, I don't know, not focus on the things that you can't control, right? And like use this community, use the people that you surround yourself with to like lift you up and like get you towards the goals that you have. Okay. Hi. All right, now I'm done talking. Does anyone have any questions? It's gonna be so quiet. Did you get at least one piece of good information out of that?
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, she's still walking.
Yes. I had a question.
Yeah.
About breathing. I asked about breathing before in the group.
Yep.
So I have to go shovel snow.
Yep.
As many of us in New England do. Should I breathe out when I'm lifting?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's talk about this, because here's the thing. It all is going to come back to, you have your diaphragm that sits in your rib cage, and then you have your pelvic floor, right? When I take an inhale, you think that things go up, but it actually goes down. And then when I exhale, it goes up. So inhale, diaphragm, pelvic floor goes down. Exhale, it lifts, right? So I don't want to piss my pants when I exhale, which can happen after you have kids, right? So I want to exhale on exertion always, right? And like Leah was just saying, she was really struggling, and like she has probably like a paradoxical breathing pattern. And she was like, is there anything that I can do other than just practice? And so like, yes, obviously we're going to say practice, but you need to practice in positions that are more like advantageous to like your body, right? Most women are a narrow rib cage angle, but some of us are a wide rib cage angle, or we look wider because we've had babies and we didn't retrain breathing postpartum, right? So the longer the exhale, the more you're going to lift the pelvic floor naturally, and then you're going to get the abdominals on board the way that you want to, right? And it's like, the breathing is so awesome because like you don't need to be like foam rolling, massaging, like, I don't know, trigger point, whatever. If you can get yourself into a good position and do some sort of like a reach, you are going to get air into those places throughout like your torso. And then you're going to lengthen those muscles because you've gotten air there, right? And you'll see in my programming, I kind of just like plug it into strength exercises so that you're not like just breathing through your neck, right? Because I see it all the time. Women that don't retrain their breathing postpartum, that they're getting like neck pain, back pain, like pelvic floor stuff. And it's really just like as simple and as complicated as learning to breathe.
Breathe.
Right. It's hard. I get really crazy with it. Like I tape my mouth shut at night because it's literally the best thing ever. And people think I'm crazy, but breathing through your nose is legit what you're designed to do. And most people don't do that. Right. And then you have like dental issues and ear stuff. Like it's all connected. Was that helpful? Sort of.
That was very helpful.
Okay. Yeah. And don't tense everything all the time, right? It's so easy to say, and maybe in 3 years, it'll click or something. But like, if you don't lengthen a muscle, you can't contract it, right? It's just tight all the time, right? So it's like we strength train, but my philosophy on strength training is like, we need more rotation, right? We need to get the glutes in a position where they lengthen. So you need more rotation, not just like slamming into external rotation, right? Because if it's always tight, then it's not going to lengthen down in order to contract. You get a better contraction from your pelvic floor when you can breathe and relax into it. Do you know what I mean? Same thing with the muscles of your back. If you can like rotate, then you're not going to be like SpongeBob SquarePants, like I like to say. Yeah. So Andrea was like, I'm going to buy tape this week. Just get the kind that's like, it's not going to like rip your skin off, because I made that mistake before. You don't want to do that. I don't recommend the ones with like the hole in it. They use those for like kids, but you can actually open your mouth. I can send you a picture of the one that like I recommend. You don't need like a huge piece, and try it. Like some people will be like, oh, it makes me nervous, like just doing that. Just watch TV and tape your mouth, or like whatever, walk on the treadmill and tape your mouth while you're like awake, so you wouldn't be nervous about it. But you'd be surprised.
And you're going to take it off in your sleep for a while at first, and then it will last all night. Like my husband tells me that my snoring is almost like non-existent now. I wake up with like not as much dry mouth. I feel like my quality of sleep is better. So it's really weird, but it totally works.
Yeah. And literally like,
I'm gonna try it.
do it. It's so like worth it.
That's really helpful.
Unless you're an amazing breather as it is, but clearly my face gets red when I like breathe through my mouth, like, because I'm talking to you guys the whole time. So clearly not doing it now. What else? Nothing. Come on, use me.
You know me, I could always talk about everything and anything.
I know.
And I say this every call, so this is my time to say it, Stacey.
Okay.
There's a lot of, for anyone who's new or returning, there's a lot of information, and I'm not surprised if it's overwhelming. Take what you can. There's all the information is going to come in emails, print them out, line it all up, and pull out what kind of connects with you now. This is long-term, so you're not expected to know every single thing, do everything right. I mean, 10 years later, Stacey, I needed this challenge more than ever because I had a hiccup and then I had to go back to, I'm still using so many of these tools. And, I'm not going to say it's going to take 10 years, but the information's there. Don't feel like you have to do it all. Take what you can, kind of master the smaller things that are something for like Katie Morgan might be something she's focusing on. I might not be focusing on it now, but then it might like switch back and forth here and there. So just, it's overwhelming, but just take a breath, take what you want out of this. And as soon as you kind of get into the habit of all this, it really is life-changing. I can say just from being here
every single time. So
yeah. So even if you're finding yourself overwhelmed with like the emails or this and that, one thing, right? Like what would your one thing be that you could focus on? Because if you just focus on the one thing, you're going to get changes. Like that's what habit change is. I'm giving you the foundation in 30 days. We're never going to stop talking about this. Like this is always what's going to work. Right. And you'll find that like, there'll be times where you're like, oh, I think like, I know this system, but like, if you just get honest with yourself and be like, am I actually fucking doing it or not? Right. And that's like the hard part. It's like, are you actually doing it consistently or do you just like know it? Like there's no new information. There's no like advanced dieters, right? It's like you're either doing it or you're not doing it. And so you just have to sit down and be like, well, give myself some time to be doing these things consistently. And how is it working for me? Right. And I do know that like it is overwhelming. I'm giving you I try to like jam pack it with a bunch of stuff. But even just like the one thing, protein and veggies, right? Like, are you actually doing that? I don't know. That's the same thing that Sarah just said. And I just said it myself. Susan, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, I've been doing this for a while and I learn new things every time. I really never heard about taping your mouth shut. And so I might try that, but do you find you have any sinus problems, or if you get a stuffy nose that the mouth being taped shut like affects you? I know this
I
is, you're not a
wouldn't
nose
do it.
doctor either.
I wouldn't do it if I had like, I will tell you this, that start it when you're awake watching television. Okay. The only person that I've seen have a really hard time with it is like my dad. He goes like this. If he breathes in through his nose, it literally sucks his nostrils in. And so like, I literally like make my parents do everything. Like Morgan knows, like you guys know, like my dad's like in the workouts, isn't that? And he comes on with like his breathe right strips. I'm like, oh my God, Dad, what are you doing? But that's what works for him. Some people need like nasal dilators to like actually get air, right? So not to be talking about that, but like there are different things that are gonna, like if you've had like a deviated septum or, you know, there are different things that like, it doesn't just like straight up apply to you, but I don't know. There's a multitude of different reasons why I include this like breathing stuff into, you know, obviously like postpartum, but also like calming due to stress, like your immune system. It's like all these things. I just don't like talk about it like that per se.
But
Right?
so I have a lot of allergy problems and a lot of sinus problems. I had bilateral turbinate surgery a few years ago because my snoring is just terrible. I've had like the lab test to see if I need a CPAP machine, and I don't need a CPAP machine. The turbinate surgery didn't really help. I've tried the breathe right strips. I am able to tape my mouth and like calm down and use my nose to breathe at night. And so even with all those other problems, the taping is not causing me any additional problems. So if you're concerned about trying it for that, you can still have some success and it's not as scary as it sounds.
And the infomercial for mouth taping is done.
But wait, there's more. I'm kidding.
No other questions, really. Exercise, anything? You're killing me.
Stacy, so not a question totally, but I guess a learned thing that I felt like was like a game changer for me since we started with talking about dining out. That was one of the things that, you know, I love to do. And I was very nervous about like it messing up. Usually it's like a Thursday or Friday, messing up my week, which I thought was so great. And how am I going to do it? So I know, you know, in one of the earlier challenges, I'd be so crazy about, okay, well, I know I'm going to eat this breakfast, lunch. Okay, well then I'm, you know, quote unquote, not going to eat because I know I'm going to go out to dinner and I know my calorie count's going to be super high. Well, that didn't work because by the time I got to the restaurant, I was freaking ravenous and I'm eating like the entire thing. Then I'm like appetizer, you know, main, the whole thing, drinks. And I'm like, well, that just blew it. So slowly you start to figure out like, look, have a snack before you go. Have even like a high protein snack, even an hour or so, whatever works for you before you go out. And you're just on a more level, at least I was like on a more level, I don't know, just being level and not starving. And by the time you get there, you can make better decisions. So that changed it for me. It's just simple, but I don't know, I was so scared in the beginning of like, oh, how am I going to work this in? And I was like doing the opposite. I was, it just wasn't working. And now it's cool.
Yeah. So basically, I don't talk about this, but like the question with like the hormones, right? We don't talk about like cortisol, ghrelin, like I just don't go there. But all of these things, like the reason I created this program is to balance your blood sugar, right? I just don't really talk about it like that. But that's how you're going to keep an even blood sugar. And that's why I do not recommend hardcore intermittent fasting for women, because we have hormones. So this coming week, it'll be like, I give you shortened eating window. Okay. Which just means giving yourself an option if you are still over your calories, if you want a way to kind of like rein it in, push your first meal of the day, like 1 to 3 hours later. And this would be on a non-workout day. This would be on a day that you're just walking or you're sleeping in. And this might help you to get into a calorie deficit, but this is in no way, shape, or form like intermittent fasting. Okay. But that just like segued me onto another tangent.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On some of the exercises, I mean, obviously I don't have a fancy gym, but like, what was one of them? The bands that you have on the wall, and then it was the Jumpstart B, I think. So I just kind of like held onto the wall and did the squat. Like, how would you do that?
Because you're not the only one, because Nicole was actually asking me about this today. Hang on. So actually, Katie Morgan was talking about this too. So I might actually run down to the basement. But if I'm in a, you're talking about for like the squat, I just want to balance this on something.
Yeah, the squat one with the elevated heels.
Yeah. So this is honestly the best way to do it. This is my TRX. I just grab a door, literally. Okay. You can roll up your yoga mat or take like an RX pad or some sort of elevation, a book, right? Elevate your heels and then use this to sit into a squat. Notice my heels are heavy, my knees are going forward, but my torso is upright and I'm holding onto a door. I do not need a suspension trainer. Or you grab your foam roller and you put it against the wall at the top of your butt crack, and then you sit down the wall with the foam roller. That's going to enable you to stack your diaphragm and your pelvic floor so that you're not just using your low back and like flexing forward into a squat. Does that help?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you see how like you're still, obviously there's layers to these exercises as well. But what I see a lot of times with people is their pelvis is dumping forward, right? They have like a curve to their back, and then they're going into extension in the low back, like when they're squatting, or they're doing like a hingy squat, right? So it's not that squatting is bad for your knees or for your back. It's the way that you're doing it. So if you elevate the heels, you're going to give yourself more range at the pelvis automatically. And then you have something to hold on to. It's just going to keep your torso upright and it's going to allow the glutes to lengthen. Right. And like the foam roller is just another way. You don't even have to elevate your heels. It's just like, oh, put the foam roller behind your butt and then you can load it up. And that's like in month 1 or month 2, like progressing the squat. But those wedges are really awesome too for like split squats and lunges that you'll see me using. It might be something that you'd want to think about getting, just because sometimes it's annoying to elevate your heels on like a yoga block or whatever, but you got to just think about it in terms of like what's realistic for you to do. Anyone else?
Yeah. So the same thing with the bench press. Obviously I don't have a bench. So I was just like kind of standing at an angle. Well, the one you're kind of like laying on it and then doing the
oh, you mean like a bat wing row?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just kind of stand.
You could stand. Yeah. So you'll see me kind of navigate through people not having those things. Just having different varieties of the row, right? So you'll see me kind of like impale myself with a foam roller. That's one. If you don't have that, you can do what's called a wall row, where you're dragging your hands down the wall so that you get expansion through the upper back and the chest. It's basically saying to you, like, we want to have some variety to your upper body pulling, right? So like if you don't have a TRX or you're not just like doing, if I was to stand, like I can remember after I had kids, if I stood and did like a bent over row, my back would fucking kill me because I couldn't manage pressure, right? I'm not trying to like put you in pain to fucking exercise, right? So like if and it's all in other months, but if I go like this and like take my hands down the wall, I'm going to be able to get that stacked position and I can still row. It would just be more with like one arm at a time, right? Or you grab onto a chair, you put your hand down there, you do a one arm row like that. You get into a split lunge, you do a row like that, right? It's kind of just like changing the form of rowing each month.
Okay. Thanks.
Helpful?
Mhm.
Good. And anytime, just you can post a video. We're not assholes in here. We love to help. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh God. She has a kid with a stomach bug. She's got to go. I actually haven't even heard my kids screaming yet. So that's good.
I have one quick question if we have time.
Yeah. What's up?
How much do you think it would help my progress getting from like 6,000 or 7,000 steps a day to like 10,000?
Okay. Do I think you need to go right to 10,000? No, but I would try to go like 7 to 8. Neat is like the easiest way, like to get better results. It really is. Just like moving that little bit more. It could even just be that you're like, all right, 10 minutes is better than no minutes. Looks disgusting out there. But just that little teeny bit, right? I would say like that 8,000 is like a sweet spot, right?
Okay.
So if you're doing all the other things like really well, I would focus on that and just see what a difference it makes for you if you did it for like 3 weeks or something.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, the walking, get off your ass, move a little bit more. I can't hear you, Morgan. Nothing else?
I have a quick question. Someone posted in the Facebook page looking for like a recipe recommendation, but they said that they wanted to avoid collagen and have like a complete protein source instead. There's a recipe that I do for smoothies and I use collagen peptides. I've had like a hard time finding a protein powder that's not like chalky tasting to me. Is that something I should try and shift away from? Or like,
No,
is that
it's not? It's just not the only protein that you want to be having, right? So and that's fine. Like if you have it, like that's the protein powder that you like to use, that's totally fine. As long as like you are eating animal protein, you know, in some point in the day. Yeah, you're totally fine.
Okay.
We're good. I better see you back next week with even more questions. Okay? Enjoy the snow day.
Bye.
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 See you.